Morning, the winding road running along the mountainside near the Canaima Reserve, Venezuela is bathed in sunlight. Two men, Carlos and Mateo, drive an old pickup truck, carrying goods up into the highlands to deliver to the local farm station. The fresh air carries the scent of grass and tree sap, the sound of cicadas and birds echoes among the lush green tropical forests. Suddenly, from the roadside ahead, two small shadows rushed out, causing Mateo to jump in surprise and slam on the brakes. The car stopped, the tires leaving black marks on the wet asphalt, heat rising and the smell of rotting leaves. Carlos leaned through the glass door, looked down, and was surprised to see two small, dirty creatures approaching. Not a puppy, nor a wildcat, but two jaguar cubs, their fur spotted with dusty black and yellow. They trembled, their eyes wide, their breathing quick, and their tiny feet slipping on the wet pavement. One of the two talons tapped lightly on the car door, making a small but pleading sound. Mateo whispered, "They seem to have lost their mother. Maybe she met with an accident in the woods." The two looked at each other, their hearts sinking when they saw the frightened eyes of the two young creatures. Carlos opened the car door, bent down, gently held out his hand, and a leopard cub nestled close to his hand. It let out a small moan, as if searching for some warmth and safety in the vast world. Mateo wrapped the jacket around the other, and the two of them placed them inside the cabin, on a dry blanket. They started the engine, left the steep road, and brought the two poor creatures to the small house on the side of El Dorado Mountain. Once home, Carlos boiled water and mixed the formula his wife used for the puppies at the rescue. The two cubs were so thirsty that they suckled enthusiastically, their eyes gradually closing in the human's arms. The oil lamplight cast a dark golden glow on the small face, reflecting a strangely peaceful look. That night, the two men hardly slept, taking turns watching to see if they woke up or cried. The next morning, the sun rose through the trees, the gibbons cried out, and the two leopard cubs were awake, staggering around the porch. Carlos took a small basin of water and let them play, while Mateo cut the chicken into small pieces to practice feeding them. They quickly became close friends, chasing each other around the yard, lightly scratching Mateo's shoes, and hiding behind young banana bushes. Every morning, two men cleaned the temporary pens, changed the hay, and wiped them down with warm towels. The cubs loved having their necks rubbed, and every time Carlos bent down they would rub their heads against his hand, emitting soft purrs. Mateo jokingly calls them Luna and Sol, two names that mean the moon and the sun, symbols of hope. On the third day, Luna began to run faster, and Sol learned to climb the log placed in the yard. Both of them were curious about everything, from the hanging light bulbs, the chirping of birds, to the straw hat that Mateo always wore. But Carlos knew well, they could not live indoors forever, for their wild instincts would soon arise. On Wednesday afternoon, he sat on the porch, looking at the two leopards curled up sleeping soundly, his heart filled with anxiety. They need to get back to nature, but somewhere safe, he told Mateo as dusk fell. Mateo nodded, then opened his phone and searched for the number of the nearest ranger station at Canaima Wildlife Station. The next morning they called and told the whole story, from finding the cub to caring for it. The station's operator, Elena Torres, an experienced ranger, listened and arranged for them to bring the two leopards. The pickup truck rolled down the same road again. Now in the back seat were two cubs lying peacefully in a basket with a soft blanket. At the station, Elena and two other employees came to greet them, their eyes shining with admiration for the kindness of the two men. Elena gently picked up Luna, checked her teeth and nails, then nodded with satisfaction. "They are very healthy, you two have taken good care of them." Sol nuzzled Carlos' neck, refusing to let go, causing Elena to reassure him in a voice as soft as a forest breeze. After completing the paperwork, the two men stood silently watching as the two leopards were taken into a quarantine cage for monitoring. Mateo sighed, his eyes stinging, and Carlos simply said, "We did the right thing." In the following days, they regularly stopped by the ranger station, bringing fresh meat, milk and even a few small toys. Luna and Sol recognized the sound of the car engine, and every time Carlos came, they both ran out, calling out familiar sounds. Elena noted that their spirits improved every day, no longer fearful or timid as when they first arrived. They began practicing mock hunting, climbing tree branches and honing their reflexes in the station's semi-wild area. Carlos took pictures of them playing and sent them back to his family and the local community to see. The story of the two rescued leopard cubs spread quickly throughout the region, becoming a warm topic in the local newspaper. The village children often call them children of the Venezuelan mountains. 3 months later, when Luna and Sol were old enough, Elena announced that they would be released into the supervised forest area. Carlos and Mateo were there that day, standing by the fence, watching them launch themselves into the deep green forest grass. Sunlight slanted through the leaves, shining on the sparkling golden spots, as if sending a wordless goodbye. Carlos smiled slightly, placing his hand on his friend's shoulder, his voice choked up. "They belong here, and they are safe." Mateo nodded, his eyes following the two small creatures as they disappeared into the depths of the Canaima forest. From then on, they stopped by the ranger station every month, bringing food, asking for news, and listening to Elena tell about Luna and Sol's footprints. She once said a camera trap captured 2 leopards playing near the majestic Angel Falls. Carlos smiled brightly, his eyes shining like sunshine through clouds after a rainstorm. He knew that brief encounter would change their hearts forever, and leave a beautiful story for the entire Venezuelan mountains.